Pokemon Unite tier list, Buzzwole update. So there were no balance changes with this update, just a new Pokemon introduced, and we're going to talk about them in a bit because I want to go over the S tiers, have everything fall into place, and also bump up on that retention. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, share with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. So S tier hasn't really changed. Hoopa, still the best Pokemon in the game. Mamoswine, still one of the most underrated Pokemon in the game. It's a tank that just one-shots people and sets up incredible amounts of crowd control. If you hit two people inside of Icicle Crash, high horsepower in a team fight, the game is won. If you catch their carry and unite, they are dead or they have to burn everything to get away, in which case the game is won. So yeah, Mamoswine is outrageous. Also, the best laning Pokemon in the game. You get to deny and steal everything and really bully out anyone. So Mamoswine is ridiculous. Let's see, we also have Garchomp. Still like the best just burner, bruiser, carry. Even with Buzzwole being introduced, doesn't really look like too many things have been shaken up. The only thing I'm kind of like tentative on is Cinderace's placement right now. Maybe the best A+ tier Pokemon, but every time, without fail, in the history of Pokemon Unite, whenever I underrate Cinderace, something happens, and then it's like, nope, never mind, should have never doubted it, it's always S tier, because it is the better AD carry. Greninja has tricks, but Cinderace just has damage, and at any time, it can snipe Zapdos from halfway across the map with its Unite, game's over, best secure. Still very powerful. I think the problem is a lot of people are just playing other things, and also all the good players have left because it's a dead game, so anyone with like MOBA experience or knows how to kite and play, or again, just like new Pokemon have also been the fancy toys. So even though someone likes, oh man, I don't even know, Duraludon, and they've decided to be a Duraludon main because they love that Pokemon, or the Absol buffs made them an Absol player now, or something like that, they're playing that instead of even a better character like Cinderace. I don't know, Cinderace, if you're a god-like ADC, you just take over the game, and it's pretty good. Glaceon, still holding that S tier. It's like, it has this really cool niche of being an AD carry style, but special attacker, and people are just getting better at scaling it, and getting better at winning games and taking over fights, but it does need support. However, Glaceon needs, like, less support than anyone else. Like, if you just baby Glaceon a little bit in the team fight, it's going to do the rest, and everything's going to be good. Mr. Mime, also still an S tier Pokemon. Problem is, one of the least used Pokemon. No one really knows how to play it that well. High skill cap, but 95% of the player base is trash, so they just don't understand how it works. Same thing for Pokemon like Garchomp. Effectively, S tier, it's hard to, like, just define super OPs right now, because, like, you look at this, like, yeah, a lot of these are more secret OP kind of Pokemon, and then Hoopa, which is just blatantly busted. That also leaves us with Aegislash, another, like, high skill cap character to where, yeah, bad Aegislash costs you the game, but an Aegislash main or a master can just shut down an entire team. Like, it'll steal the objective, pop the perfect wide guard, and then go into the Sacred Sword, and next thing you know, it just won a 1v4. That's Aegislash. Like, the outplay potential on the Pokemon is outrageous. So it's mostly just like the ceiling of these Pokemon is outrageously high, even though you're not seeing them like in every game taking over. But the A+ tier is kind of where that's like, oh, here are the easy OPs that can still succeed, but not provide like the insanity of some of the S tiers. Tier list is getting weird, Pokemon Unite balance is getting weird, and also all the good players have left. So let's talk about Buzzwole. Pokemon sucks. It's underwhelming. It reminds me of Azumarill on release, where like just doesn't do anything. But also Buzzwole is like the weakest wild Pokemon secure I've ever seen. Like, it just, you can't do anything, except for Glaceon. Glaceon's also really weak, but at least it does something at level 4. Buzzwole doesn't do anything until level 7. And it's kind of like old school LeBlanc, like season 1 through 3, or even up to like 4 something LeBlanc. Whenever Deathfire Grasp was in the game and Riot Games didn't hate mages, you farm champions, not minions. So with this, like, you farm enemy Pokemon because your secure is so terrible, but you also don't have great ways of taking enemy Pokemon with like the crowd control or the damage or the mobility of other Pokemon. Buzzwole has no range, no wild Pokemon damage, but its Unite move and combo potential and its like level 7 and all of its upgrades make it threatening. So it's not worthless. It's not D tier. The best I can put it at is B tier from my own experience and also watching other people play it, because it effectively only it's like old Charizard. And even modern Charizard. Like, I feel modern Charizard might be closer to A tier than B tier right now, because people are just going super aggro in lane. Charmander just runs up and it just goes for it. And because not everyone's running Buddy Barrier and not everyone's running Focus Band, it's actually getting away with melting people, and it's getting a little bit better in the early game. And if it has a proper amount of support, you're going to think, how did that Charmander kill me in lane? It's supposed to be useless. So, like, it kind of has the same idea, where it's like, and then Charizard kind of drops off, but then the Unite hits, and like, oh, Charizard's just winning the entire team fight. With Buzzwole, when it unites, like, one person doesn't get to play Pokemon Unite. They are removed from the game, but also, like, Beast Boost stacking, its Leech Life is just the better move right now. So, like, yeah, you go Leech Life, you hold someone down, and you're sustaining off of someone you're suppressing for, like, 2 seconds, and it's also a pick. So that Pokemon gets KO'd, now you have Beast Boost. The problem is you have no range. So you can only be effective when X speed is up. You can only be effective when Flash is up. But if the enemy team has mobility or crowd control, you get kited. So you're just the worst of everything. You have Glaceon Eevee's early laning. You have Charizard's only strong when uniting. And you also have... Give me 1 second. I was about to say something and then I forgot it, and now it looks bad for the video. Right. You also have Outrage Dragonite's kite ability and range. Actually, no, Outrage Dragonite has more range. So you have the worst of the worst, and it's even worse than that. So, like, the thing with Buzzwole is, like, you can just not play into Buzzwole. You can just avoid its game. If it's walking up to you, you walk away, and Buzzwole is unable to do anything. And if it blows too much, it's also one of the most frail Pokemon ever. For an all-rounder, it has no durability, no survivability. The Pokemon can get bursted out. However, you have to make sure you clean this Pokemon up, because it might, like, auto-attack and heal for a little bit and then survive on 1 hit points. If that happens, it could find a KO because you let your guard down. So, like, you have to eliminate this pest as a threat, but once you do, it's just useless. So that's kind of like the big Buzzwole thing. Like, D-tier laning, D-tier range, D-tier stuff, but when the kit succeeds, it can be threatening. However, when other Pokemon are succeeding, Pokemon like Garchomp, Pokemon like Sarina, they're winning fights. Buzzwole doesn't win 1v5 like Sarina does, like Garchomp does, like Zeraora does after Unite move. So these Pokemon are just stronger. Now people might be saying, oh, take Buzzwole into the jungle, because if it's having bad landing, you just scale it to level 5. It's level 5, still isn't that great, and I'd rather have a Sarina, a Zeraora, a Lucario, a Greninja, any of the 80 carries. I'd have a Venusaur jungle over Buzzwole jungle. So yeah, like, it's just not good. Is it going to get the Azumarill treatment, get some buffs, maybe soak up in the not S tier, A tier? I don't know. We have seen overcompensation before that just catapult a Pokemon multiple tiers ahead. But problem with Buzzwole is I think you can't really balance it. Like, it either snowballs and takes over the fight. Like, if it gets any more range, or if it gets any more mobility, or any more damage, well, now it goes from, like, B tier to A+, maybe even S tier, and it does 1v5, and now it's oppressive and has no counterplay. I think that's also the fear on Azumarill. Azumarill has a lot of overtune in its kit, but the numbers are suppressed. If those numbers aren't suppressed, now you're just dealing with an outrageously overtuned Pokemon that can just A or S tier if the numbers aren't or tweak too much, or if it's given like an extra mechanic or something. So I think these Pokemon are just cursed to be mediocre. Maybe even balanced, but a game like Pokemon Unite, balanced isn't good. Balanced is underwhelming, which is kind of unfortunate. So let's see, where are we looking at for some of the other things? Greninja had an A tier. I'm seeing more A+ tier Greninja, but that's like flavor of the month stuff. Like I said, it's weird how mains fall in and out, and there's not enough people in the player base getting good on a variety of Pokemon. So we're just kind of like seeing pick rate, but not any reflection in the win rate or how good the Pokemon is, and that's creating like a lot of weird stuff. Cinderace beating Greninja, that's my gut feeling, just off of like how Cinderace's mechanics work and also the Unite move. Greninja though, still snowballs fights, still wants to get ahead, take over games, still a strong jungler. Decidueye, also performing pretty well. It's shredding things, and it can still get away with a lot. It scales, its Unite backs you off, has to like back you off of the objectives, takes objectives, and if it's ignored in a fight or gets a Blissey, it wins the game. That's true of a lot of other like carry kind of Pokemon. So again, like the game just doesn't have enough people representing all the playstyles and classes to be really like, hey, here's how the game's functioning right now. It's just kind of a broken mess, mostly off of how bad the player base is. Cramorant, that's the next Pokemon I want to talk about. So, first tier list of the anniversary patch, A tier. Then I played it on cooldown reduction, moved it up to A+ tier. Cramorant was bugged. And the weird thing is how the information on Cramorant's bug is kind of inconsistent, because I saw this and I was like, wait a second. They accidentally reverted Cramorant exactly to how it was before the Surf nerf. So that's why I felt that Cramorant was like, oh, it's feeling A+ now. I'm one-shotting people. It's like old Cramorant, but you're still nerfed on the Unite move, and you're still nerfed on the Whirlpool, which are completely unnecessary to the character. And that's why it's kind of feeling bad. But it is weird to think about it. These little numbers, those little changes that happened God knows how long ago at this point, like almost a year ago, are the difference between Cramorant being A tier and A+ tier. Also, if you're running Dive Air Slash, you're just trash bag at the game. Please stop griefing. But now it's also said that like Cramorant's second wave was dealing damage twice. That's definitely a lot more damage than like this little change. So, was the bug Cramorant's damage buff, or was the bug dealing damage twice? Did it keep that Surf damage buff, or has it all been reverted? I don't know. Game's buggy. The tracking of the data isn't that, like, it doesn't make sense sometimes. Cramorant, though, back down to A tier because it's not overperforming, because it's not getting the weird funny numbers. So that's something worth noting. Sylveon, still incredibly good. Much stronger level 4 than Glaceon, and has, like, very strong late game impact and just kind of runs people over. Maybe one of the best A+ tier Pokemon as well. If I say S tier, now that's just like overbearingly weighted on S tier. But like the thing is, like, Glaceon's single target. However, when Glaceon unites, it gets to just one-shot 3 people. However, when Sylveon unites, it gets to melt the entire enemy team relatively safely. And also, you just can't duel Sylveon. Like, half the cast does not have the ability to keep up with Calm Mind and keep up with Sylveon kiting away as it yells at you. And if you're chasing it, it's like going into a Singed, and you're just going to die before you can get onto Sylveon. And Sylveon doesn't immediately die because it has Spell Vamp. So even if you get onto a Sylveon and try to burst it, you don't one-shot Sylveon. It Calm Minds and runs away and then melts you down. Or then it turns on the X speed and then runs you down, and then you just don't get to collapse on it. So it takes a coordinated effort to take down Sylveon, but it can still be neutralized. It's still fairly low range, so like it will lose a duel to just an 80 carry Pokemon, also popping X speed and then running it down out of range. So it's like half the cast just gets bodied by Sylveon, and then Sylveon kind of struggles into the other half of the cast. But still very, very strong Pokemon. It's like, I've seen it do S tier stuff, and it can have more teamfight game impact than Glaceon, but Glaceon also just melts objectives, and the Unite is outrageous. But they also turn on at level 8. Pokemon's weird. Espeon hasn't done anything to make me think it's good. Wigglytuff hasn't done anything. Slowbro hasn't done anything. Pikachu just seems very underwhelming. And that's the difference between Buzzwole being D tier and B tier. Buzzwole can do something, and the Unite move really enables that. It can also snowball, and the Leech Life itself. Like, Leech Life as an ability is kind of carrying Buzzwole into the follow-up, because then, like, again, Beast Boost and some other abilities and stuff. But it's not like, oh, Slowbro walks up and then telekinesis and then unites, and that's why it's B tier. No, ignore, you can't ignore Buzzwole, but you can just kind of play around it. Slowbro can just be completely ignored. Wigglytuff falls off a cliff. Espeon, very, very strong mid-game, but doesn't have any presence or impact in the important team fights. And then Pikachu, again, just falls off a cliff, while maybe being one of the most balanced Pokemon in any MOBAs ever. So that's a thing. Venusaur, having a hard time figuring out Venusaur as well. Like, has A tier moments, but for the most part plays B tier. Even like successful Venusaurs, even jungle Venusaurs, the laning can be abusable, but also if it gets like 2 steals on Razor Leaf, now it's playing like an A tier. It needs to get ahead, and Venusaur does more with a lead than most other Pokemon, but giving Venusaur the lead takes a lot of resources and is also not reliable. But it can still pop off at any time. If it goes Solar Beam, boom, Zapdos is stolen, game is saved by your underleveled Venusaur. Funny Zapdos flippy shenanigans. Ninetales feeling underwhelming. I played with a Ninetales Snorlax combo. Like, they just locked everyone down with Avalanche Block and Heavy Slam. So, like, there's still combos out there. There's still discovery. This is also one of the nastiest lanes in the game because Snorlax has very potent Secure, and then Vulpix also very strong lane, even, like, all of Ninetales. All of Ninetales is just going to be very strong in lane. The problem is Ninetales' kit doesn't have a lot of the overtune to keep up with the power creep in the meta inside of team fights. So, yeah, you can set up on your Aurora Veil and you can start putting out, like damage and little bits of CC, but you're going to get collapsed on and nuked even with the damage resistance, or you're just not doing enough damage compared to really any other Pokemon or any other mage. Why play Ninetales when Glaceon sets down its field and then destroys someone? Ninetales is death by 1,000 cuts and a little bit of crowd control. Not keeping up with the rest of the cast that's in a higher tier. But then, like, Snorlax Ninetales just locking an entire fight and then leaving up to the other 3 people playing more supportive. Supportive Ninetales is good, but also still needs a team around it. But then it's like you have an A tier support in that Ninetales. Just playing Ninetales to play Ninetales. B tier, same for Snorlax. Unless you're making deliberate combos like Mr. Mime Confusion into a Snorlax block on their carry. Snorlax is kind of helpless and not doing anything. Not enough damage to be threatening. A lot of mobility and unstoppability to kind of make the block not really matter. Flail is griefing. Stop running it. Greedent, I did an update to my tier list talking about how Greedent has been promoted from D tier to B tier. Mostly because Greedent... Like, Greedent's goals are against the goals for winning a proper game of Pokemon Unite. But sometimes it becomes Greedent's game of Pokemon Unite. And when you're playing its game, it's a very ugly game. But Greedent is having a very good time. However, it's also very easy for Greedent to fail at those goals, not get the proper invade, not get enough steals, not score enough, and then just have zero presence whatsoever. Or if you just ignore Greedent, similar to playing the Slowbro, you ignore Greedent, you let him play his shenanigans, but then you get proper punishment in steals and secures on objectives, team fighting 5v4, and then making Greedent a liability for the team. Now Greedent, again, is completely useless. So, very flippy, unreliable Pokemon. Like, it's going to have an A+ tier game, or it's going to have an F tier game. And for the most part, it's going to like have less success than, or it's not going to succeed as much as it succeeds. And even when succeeding, it's not an unbearably unstoppable character, except in very rare situations. So yeah, Greedent, not the worst thing, but you have to play very specifically, and that's like not invading, not trying to backdoor a 40-point score while there's actual things going on the map. Like, what you need to do is you need to unite, you need to belch on objectives, and then you need to kind of disrupt people with your team instead of disrupting people away from your team. So it's weird, but again, the player base is very unskilled. Like, Greedent is a pub stomper. Greedent is the Pokemon embodiment of old Score Shield. Old Score Shield was always bad, and I think people started to learn that, like, as the game kind of developed more and more. But it kind of comes to the point where it's like, yeah, if you don't know how to play properly, Greedent's running you over. But if you know how to play properly, Greedent's going to struggle. And then it just kind of gets uglier from there. So it's a thing. Playable, but still not very good in, like, real Pokemon Unite. But everyone sucks, so it's actually just a pub stomper. Dragonite. Dragonite, like, B tier in the last ones, but also kind of has A tier moments. The Hyper Beam Secure is good. Its laning is weak, though, so you have to gank it, and that's going to absorb resources. You can put it in the jungle. I like other junglers, but then, like, when a Dragonite gets ahead, game's pretty filthy. And if you go, like, Blissey Dragonite combo, and you just commit and stack into that, game's pretty filthy. And then it can unite and disrupt the team fight in a pretty successful way, kite around, stay alive. But at the same time, like, it just feels like Dragonite doesn't bring as much consistent impact to a game as other Pokemon. As it's trying to set up, if it isn't ahead, well, then you just play the team fight into the Dragonite, remove it as a threat, then you get to secure the objective that you're going for. But also, there's just times where, like, you can't do anything into the Dragonite, and that makes the game pretty frustrating. I don't know, just kind of feeling like kind of mid, except in super coordinated stuff, and that's also where like Ninetales and Snorlax are landing. But Dragonite definitely more powerful than Ninetales and Snorlax. So if there's like a B+ tier, probably like Venusaur Dragonite in B+ tier. But then like the list kind of gets ugly and weird. Absol, it's dropped off. It can still succeed, but people bad, and they don't just like Absol runs it down. But the Psycho Cut buff does give it presence at Zapdos and objectives, and if you play explicitly for that, you're gonna have a good game. These tier lists get longer and longer as more Pokemon get introduced, and like you kind of have to explain even an existing Pokemon's interaction with the new Pokemon, or just where the meta is going and stuff like that. Like Machamp, just better Buzzwole. If you think about playing Buzzwole, play Machamp. It has stronger laning and kind of the same idea of you choose one unlucky person, they don't get to play the game, and then you unite, you try to create as much havoc or just one-shots in the team fight as possible, and then you use your cooldowns to just kind of go in. So like, Machamp has a way in and better range than Buzzwole. And more damage. Why does Buzzwole exist? Delphox. One of those things where I was like kind of having issues in the last one where it's like, Delphox and Cramorant on the same tier feels weird, because Delphox just has better Hurricane with Fire Spin, even after nerf Fire Spin, and better like nuke attack. Even if you go Fire Blast or Mystical Fire, still better than Surf. I like the Fire Blast personally on Delphox over Mystical Fire because you are just better Cramorant. Like Fire Blast, Fire Spin, just better than Surf Hurricane. Your early game isn't as commanding as Cramorant's, and the pick potential of Surf Hurricane is more potent than just like a Fire Spin or something, but Fire Spin just becomes annoying. Fire Spin becomes oppressive. It doesn't get you killed like a Surf Hurricane combo, but just more range and more utility. So it's like, yeah, does that put Delphox A+ tier? After the nerfs, Delphox can't be A+ tier anymore. It doesn't have like that crazy overperformance, but it is just a good Pokemon. If you like mages from other MOBAs or just like that kind of style of play, Delphox, very good Pokemon to learn. It's like the new Gardevoir, because that used to be Gardevoir, where it's like, yo, pick up Gardevoir, this is your artillery mage. This is how you just play a caster, and it's cool. Problem is Gardevoir has scaling issues. It's feeling B tier right now. It's had moments of like A+ tier, had moments of A tier. And then the meta and like everyone running X speed and people like getting better at lane, making it harder for Gardevoir. Better jungle picks, making it harder for Gardevoir. It's impossible to play Gardevoir 100% perfect. If you play it that way, well, not that, A+ tier Pokemon, if you land every ability and you get every pick. But that's not real life. No matter how many games you have on Gardevoir, you still have the chance to flub. You're going to miss something in team fight, and it's going to cost you. And your Unite move can flip an entire Zapdos and win the game, but it's also kind of finicky. And then again, if they read the tell and they get out of it, they full heal, they Unite, they get enough support or something, kind of neutralized. So weird things around the game have just made Gardevoir not great. Blastoise though, A tier. The only thing keeping out of A+ is that Squirtle into Wartortle laning is very weak. All that scaling has a lot of issues. But then when you're Blastoise, you're kind of crazy. Rapid Spin, Water Spout, one-shots people. Like, there is that point in the game, like, Blastoise hits level 9, and then the Squirtle you've been beating up on all game finds you alone, and then it X-speeds, and then you can't escape, and somehow you're dead. And then also the Unite can steal Zapdos, can do lots of fights, kind of flip Dreadnought, Rotom, random skirmishes and stuff. So Blastoise, just a good tank. I consider Mamoswine better on pretty much every aspect. Laning, pick potential. Maybe not the Unite, but again, like, people just don't understand Mamo and sleep on it. Could have a better Unite, but its Unite's still very good on Mamoswine. Blastoise, still a solid tank. If you play into it, it's good. Surf, Hydro Pump. Again, this is an issue with the player base. I haven't seen a lot of people running it, but I think that its impact can also be nasty. That if you round up multiple people on a Surf, you hop off just right, you Hydro Pump them into your team, then you Unite to zone off the rest of the team or catch anyone trying to like run back into you to get away from your team, you're winning. The early game though, very, very suffery to get there. So as you can see, it's like you either need strong early game, good jungle, and then you also need to have presence at Zapdos to be an A+ tier S Pokemon. Talonflame, A tier, a good jungle pick, better jungle pick than Buzzwole, better jungle pick than Venusaur and Dragonite in my opinion. Comparable to others and also just very rewarding. You go fly, you steal Dreadnought, you scale it at level 7. It's like you don't need level 9. to be a successful Talonflame. You come in at Dreadnought level 7, and maybe you get the steal, flipping a 5% chance to win game back into neutral almost, or something crazy like that. Even at level 8, you have power. You can find picks, you can assassinate people, you can catch someone out. You can do whatever it takes to get like the comeback experience, get back into the game, and then now you're just a threat. If the team fight at Zapdos, like let's say it was 5v5, 3 people on the enemy team survive, only Talonflame survives. Like, you're the only person that survives on Talonflame. They can't do Zapdos. Like, that is not a one team fight. And that's other Pokemon like Cinderace, other Pokemon that sneak away like Greninja and then can just come back and steal it. But like, Talonflame has the biggest threat of that. It's like, did we kill Talonflame? Game is paused for 30 minutes. Talonflame just bought all that time by existing. Eldegoss, Blissey, still holding them around A tier. Blissey can be super oppressive when ahead, if it stacks specs, if it's playing the right team comp, if it's supporting the right AD carry, there's other support on that, you can't win the game. But also, Blissey can get one shot. Blissey can be neutralized. There's a lot of like power creep and mobility creep and stuff to let that happen, and coordination play can just kind of have Blissey collapse. So it's just solid support. Same with Eldegoss. I think Eldegoss is kind of in that undiscovered, not played enough kind of realm to where I think Eldegoss can be as impactful as a Blissey and be more consistent. So, like, doesn't have the highs, doesn't have the peaks that a Blissey can have, but if you just play good Eldegoss every time, you're going to have better overall performance than just your average, well, not average Blissey, but like the same kind of Blissey. Blissey will fall under Eldegoss in some games and playing at the same level. Blissey will perform over Eldegoss in some games and playing at the same level. Eldegoss, I think, can always just be consistently better. And then you have really good steal on Zapdos, really big like team fight negation. That if you use a 5-man, 4-man shield, and then you go into Unite and you heal everyone, you've done enough to offset that team fight to where now you're carrying the team fight as an Eldegoss with great supportive capabilities. Crustle, I don't know if he won the Emblem Lottery or not. At any point, you just go Shell Smash X Scissor, and you can flip a game, and things get silly. Lucario, it's not the S tier unstoppable Pokemon it's always been. Still ridiculously strong laner, still ridiculously strong jungle, still just, if the opponent burns all their cooldowns and Lucario has his, Lucario wins that fight, GG. Gengar, A+ tier, Hex, out of control. Trevenant, A+ tier, can just lock multiple people out of the game. It can stack, it can be unkillable, very frustrating Pokemon. And because Buzzwole is a fighting bug-type Pokemon, it means that we have to raise Clefable from A tier to A+ tier. It just has all of the advantages over the new Pokemon that everyone's trying to play, so Clefable is getting buffed. Also preemptive. Now, I could put Clefable here, but then by the next time we're updating tier list, Tyranitar's in the game. Tyranitar's looking strong from the leaks, so let's just put Clefable at A+. Like, learn it now. Tyranitar comes out, Fairy beats Dark type, GG easy. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.